In this video we carry on with the build for the Exhill Works Shunter. We've been making the cab and bonnet before adding the brass detail parts. But to go back a bit, right at the start I bought a short staff jack as a driver. These are beautifully created models that populate Exhill Works. They're made to slightly under a full height 7/8 scale man and are designed to complement Rob Bennett's range of busybodies. Once I'd removed the feed-in gate from the resin casting and found a hardwood block to sit him on, he was then ready to be used so I could gauge the size and scope of the cab as I built it. One of the next tasks was to set up the pannier tank chassis on the rolling road to help it run in for an hour in both directions, which freed it up nicely. Then a test run on a couple of lengths of track, bearing in mind that this used a 60-year-old Hammond & Morgan DC controller. It performed okay. And so it was time to start some proper work. And this time we decided to use some CAD, cardboard aided design, for a mock-up of the body. Once I was happy with the general arrangement, it was time to cut out the cab sides in 60 thou plasticard and test fit along with the driver. Having worked out the right size that I needed for the cab, first thing was to cut out all the sections I needed to build this, and then cut out the windows as well. These were then assembled, holding them nice and true with some magnetic clamps, and then put to one side so that the bonnet could then be started. Following on, a set of parts were cut out for the bonnet part, assembled and set up on the chassis with a pair of plastistrut girders to space the bonnet out correctly, as this will be removable. Then a pair of side panels were added to the cab front to allow the bonnet to slip in place. And while I was thinking about the next stage, I cut out 2 window surround trims and fitted these in place. Following this, a protective grille was built to stop the rear glass getting broken. Having thought about the radiator design, this was then built up as a separate section, fitted to the bonnet sides, and a grille mesh cut out from auto repair aluminium mesh sheet and trimmed to fit inside a pocket behind the radiator front panel. The sides were then built up in 60 thou to be flush with the side panels and the radiator front, with the bonnet top now being made to fit with a couple of 30 thou strips to mate up so as to complete the side trim. Then a pair of access doors were cut out of 30 thou plasticard along with a hinge pin. These were then fitted with a pair of hinge plates. It was now time to turn up a radiator filler cap on the lathe along with an air filter housing. Both the top of the radiator was marked out along with the bonnet and drilled, ready to fit the parts. Then to complete the bonnet doors, a pair of Uskin Models T-handles were fitted in place. Next, an exhaust pipe and silencer were fabricated along with an air horn, a bonnet hatch suitably battered, a headlight to take a grain of wheat bulb, and a windscreen wiper. After which, it was now time to start on the cab details. So hunting around, I managed to find some photos of a Ruston LAT to use these as a guide for fabricating up my dummy transmission housing. Because I needed some character, this was made up with a section of 20mm conduit tube, cut down and built up with scraps of plasticard to give it some form. This will then later be given some texture by using dissolved filler putty. This would then be brushed on so it looks like an iron casting. Then I test fitted the driver in place, who required surgery to remove his left arm. So those of a nervous disposition, please look away. To do this, I use my jeweler's fret saw, which has a very fine blade, which is 0.5mm thick. Once his arm was removed, I was able to get our driver to sit further back into the cab, allowing for a seat from Uskin's traction engine parts to be used. After a couple of false starts, the handbrake was made up and test fitted in place, and I'm pleased to say it functions. This was followed in short order with a direction control lever, the engine speed lever, the gear change lever along with an oil pressure gauge, a fuse box and a rear lamp. At the same time, a pair of brackets were made up to hang some chain on the back of the cab. Whilst this was going on, I redesigned the roof so it could lift off, as it would then be impossible to fit the driver inside in any other way. The wiring for the light was made up from some fine gauge copper wire I'd salvaged from a light fitting, and this was then fitted in place. Having got to this stage, that kind of summed everything all up, and we're now ready to move on in the next episode to the paintwork and the final finishing details. So that's as far as I can go at the moment. I will return to this build. Meanwhile, feel free to comment. To keep up to date, make sure you subscribe. Thank you.